We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. Hello, I guess we're back to You Are What You Watch. My name's Harry Tambuatco. I know you've noticed the opening billboards come back on the Talk to Harry. I guess how to explain that, Politics Today is the segment that goes on between 8 to 9 o'clock all week, Monday to Sunday. Now, before we begin this show for the first of the year, let me see, I have some issues I want to complain about, and I use this platform. Let's see. The new administration, after 6 going on 7 months, what did they give us? High prices. Gee, thank you very much. We're looking at what, 30%? Whether you go SLEX or NLEX or SETEX or whatever X, what happens is we become X'd because prices have gone up. From gas that we buy for cooking to our gasoline has gone up. It seems regulation, restriction, control is out the window. Is this what we're going to be expecting for 2011? You tell me. If you don't think it's anything, tell me. There was an article written by one of our hosts in Opinion. Incidentally, if you don't get that newspaper, it's called Opinion. It's on the website. You can just go www.opinion.com.ph. It's a weekly magazine. One of the hosts, who's one of our TV hosts, Herman Tularel, wrote about a very interesting article just this week. If I'm not mistaken, it came out today. It's called Corporatocracy, or meaning the ability of an administration to be pro-corporation and big business. What happens to us all? Now, the complaint I was talking about is the traffic. Isn't it horrendous? Last night at the NLEX, I got caught in a traffic that kept me on a snail's pace for close to 2.5 hours. It only takes 30-40 minutes if you're traveling about 100-110, but last night it took 2.5 hours just sitting put and not moving. Well, maybe this is what we're paying for. Now, if you live in the other side of town called the South, it gets worse because every night that's what it's like. You pay toll, or taxes, it's not taxes, it's toll, for a company that keeps you in traffic for about an hour and a half, simply because they're constructing a better passway, which is the Skyway, of which when finished, you will pay even more. Ang tawag po dito, niluluto sa kanilang o sariling mantika. Now let's go straight into the program, Talk to Harry. This program, I'd like to take advantage and introduce, like I always do with all the new shows that come on right here on GNN. Here's a learned program with a learned topic of which we should all be, be in the know. It's called intellectual property. We have it in the Philippines. We even have the agency that's here. With us, we have Attorney Sara Suguitan, who will be hosting the show, which will begin this Friday between 7 to 8 o'clock on the segment of Business and Living. Exactly what is it? Well, it's part of our lifestyle. It's about piracy. It's about trademarks. It's about copyright. It's about, yes, how you address plagiarism and even patents, which is exactly down our alley. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Attorney Sara Suguitan. Hello, Attorney. Buti na lang nakapunta kayo. First part of the show.
Yeah,
Attorney, what can we expect starting this Friday? Kasi you're gonna host, no?
Yes, this Friday, well, the program is sponsored by the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, which is the government agency mandated to administer intellectual property systems in our country. Now, what exactly is intellectual property system, we have two foremost registers. There's one for brands, trademarks. So we have a register, much like register of deeds, like with all other properties, you have a register of cars and everything. But this time, exclusively for intellectual property, trademarks and patents for inventions.
Pag sinabi mo trademarks, hindi tangible yan, ano?
No, it's,
Like
yes.
GNN, trademark yan.
Yes, it's a brand. It's psychological. There's a
okay.
connotation. It's when you say intellectual, it's not physical, unlike real estate.
Cars,
land,
engines.
or movables.
Yes. Movables ang
So,
tawag dyan.
yes, movables, immovables, and intellectual property. This is the third species of property.
How does that relate to businessmen and the consumers? Why is it important that we understand the meaning of intellectual property?
Well, first of all, specifically for businessmen, if you don't own your name, your brand, and somebody copies it,
Oo,
and
mag-aaway
builds
kayo
over your
niyan.
goodwill. Yeah, of course.
Mawawala goodwill mo.
Yes,
Pero di ba
and
nagre-register na kami? Nagre-register na tayo sa trade and industry. Nagbabayad na kami doon. Tama na yun. Register na yan, di ba?
But that's different. We are under DTI, but the Department of Trade and Industry issues business permits. So for you to set up a store or start operating, that's what you need. It's local government based. But trademarks, it's different because once you register your trademark, it's nationwide. It can even be international. So you just own the property over the name of the good or service that you're providing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the issue here is for us to understand. Department of Trade and Industry allows us to register our business trade name. So, let's suppose the Harry Corporation would be the trade name. But let's say the product is the show. It'll be Talk to Harry, which is the product. And the trade name, para sa negosyo lang, para bayaran natin ng BIR, makabayad tayo ng SSS, makabayad tayo ng PhilHealth, at kung ano mang Medicare, kung ano man. Yung trade name mo, parang corporate pangalan ng korporasyon mo o pangalan ng partnership and or entrepreneurial. So, it'll be the Harry Corporation or the Harry Company. Pero yung trade name or yung trade name or trademark na gagamitin mo sa produkto mo would be like Talk to Harry. Is that a proper way of explaining
yes,
that?
it's a very good way of explaining it. You register
do the people understand in the Philippines, attorney, the importance of intellectual property?
To some extent, many people are aware, but they are not using the system. So they are not registering. They know they've been using this trademark or their brand on their products for such a long time without registering it. See, the only way for you to own it is to register it. So
why
people
do
have
they
to be
not
aware.
register it? I don't understand. You make it sound so simple. They just register it. So it's ignorance on behalf of the businessmen in this country?
Well, I won't blame it one way. There's also a part of us from the government that should be reaching out to everyone nationwide in order to protect them. I mean, name-wise, trademark.
So this is the purpose, the objective of this show of intellectual property that you're launching in GNN.
Aside from raising awareness and encouraging use of the registration systems, we're also going to bring in other issues like, of course, plagiarism, piracy, enforcement, and what the government is doing to address this and what the nation can do in order to respect.
Attorney, maybe you can explain to us, what do you mean exactly by plagiarism, piracy, enforcement when it relates to intellectual property?
So, intellectual property is property. So, kumbaga, like, you have a car, kotse. I can do damage to your car. I can commit a crime against your car. I can steal
sabotage?
it. Yeah, I can steal it. I can slash and burn it, and then return it to you in bad condition. These are crimes against property. Now, since intellectual property is property, there are crimes committed against it as well. So you can steal it, you can use it, distort it without authorization. Distort, like for example, I take your work and then vandalize it or make it appear bad and then credit it to your good name. So these are the forms of infringement that is committed against intellectual property.
Infringement is the key word.
Infringement.
Damaging.
Yes, it is a criminal offense. For me, personally, the gravamen of the offense against intellectual property is copying.
That's copying.
Yes,
so,
copying
yan ang mga pinag-usapan natin the last 3 months, yung copyright lumalabas. And di ba lumalabas si Jerry yung plagiarism kasama Supreme Court, UP, kung ano. Same thing yan. Does that fall under intellectual property when you talk about plagiarism?
In essence, yes. Because what is being disputed are intangibles. you say decision of the Supreme Court, misquoting someone else's
yun,
work.
yun na nga.
I
Exactly.
mean, what's that? It's an idea, it's a sentence, it's a creative output. It's not really a physical manifestation. It's not like a car or a cup or a real estate or a condo unit, right?
It's an idea.
Yes, it's an idea. It's an expression, it's a creative expression of something, of someone, and by someone. So you're saying the authors are going after the Supreme Court saying, hey, this is my idea, that is how I said it, and you're saying that's yours. Diba? So that's essentially the fight. Same with the network wars going over a particular game show.
Yung sa Wawawi.
They're
Sinasabi
saying,
ng Channel 2, amin
this
yan.
is our idea. You copied it. Diba? That's their offense, eh. And that's what they're saying na how they got offended. You copied our idea.
Does that mean that Intellectual Property Philippines, right? Because it's an agency.
Yes.
You become the arbiter. You become the chief arbiter for conflict and for conflict resolution.
Well,
Is that what
we
it's
do
like?
have quasi-judicial powers. We have a Bureau of Legal Affairs that hears out cases, disputes on trademarks and patents. But the thing with copyright and enforcement issues is we don't have police power. I mean, that our agency specifically doesn't have yet that kind of police power in order to enforce and go out to the streets.
Who enforces it then?
Well, since intellectual property is property, it's owned by someone. It's normally the owner who does the enforcing. He has to obtain a warrant, file a case in court, file this bond. And
Can they just go to intellectual property, say, boss, piniplagiarize ako, kinokopya produkto ko, ninakaw ang pangalan ko, pwedeng pumunta sa inyo, tas gano'n na lang, tas kayo lalakad, hindi. Baliktad, kailangan kumuha pa ng abogado. Why does it take so much out of the individual who needs protection? Whose role is policing really?
Policing is the role of the owner. So
the
you have to
owner.
be the one to file a case in court, solicit the help of the police, get a warrant, etc., and raid whichever stalls or whoever entity you claim to be copying your product.
Yeah. So we need legal assistance first to think that kung tama talaga ninanakaw ang pangalan ko, intellectual property ko, pupunta ako, I'll get a cop. But I have to prove to the cop or go to the court first. Legal muna, court, and then police.
Yeah. Okay, this is how it works. First of all, you have, like any other crimes, you have to prove 3 elements in property. First of all, you have to prove that you own it. Because if you don't own it, you have no interest at all in pursuing that right. It means you have no right, and you have to own it. So, first of all, you own it. Second of all, that someone trespassed on what you own. It's like someone trespassed on your land or got the keys to your car without your
Ginamit
permission.
ang pangalan
Yeah,
mo.
you have to prove that's the second element. And then third of all, that you did not authorize that person to do that. Because if it's authorized, you consented to it, then there's no crime.
So the idea is first register it so that you can prove that there is ownership on a particular. That's why you're saying you need to register.
That's true for certain types of intellectual property. See,
You're
yung
losing
property-
me. Yeah.
Intellectual property has many kinds. There's trademarks and patents
Okay.
to which we keep registers of. But when it comes to music, songs, books, literary works, artistic works, we don't really have a register for that. We don't, because copyright is protected from the moment of creation. So for that particular species of property, anything artistic, we don't have a register of that. So,
In the case of Wawawi, sino ba talaga may-ari nun? Kasi nag-umpisa yun sa Channel 2, it was very popular. And then Willie Revillame, the star of the show, went to Channel 5 and they changed the name. It's called Wheeling Willie. But it's the same concept, namimigay, laro-laro, games, di ba? So pwede ba sabihin ng Channel 2, kanila yung concept na yun, yung idea?
okay. Well, the thing is, we already have a previous Supreme Court ruling
Oh, okay.
on exactly also this type of dispute. There was a dating game show way back in the 90s called It's a Date.
Rhoda and Me.
Yeah, Rhoda and Me was the previews.
The previous
dating
show.
game show. Now, when It's a Date came out, the producer of Rhoda and Me saw that and alleged copyright infringement. Hey, you copied our show. We came first. Diba? We aired in the 70s and you were
Yung
aired
natawag
in the
doon
90s.
copyright.
Well, there's
Kasi
copyright.
copying of an idea.
Yeah, but there was copyright. The Supreme Court ruled there's copyright in the copy of the show. Like the episode, the whole episode, but not the elements, not the format. So...
Ang hirap intindihin ka. Legal na ito.
Yes,
Sige,
I mean,
sige.
it's very technical. It looks the same. It has the same searchy, same format, same game show, same elements. But the format itself was not copyrightable. So that was
Do
the ruling.
lawyers, all lawyers in the legal profession, do they all understand the intricate design of copyright or hindi? This is a specific study, isn't it?
Intellectual property is a highly specialized branch of law. And
okay.
to think that it's very relevant to Filipinos because all of us at one point or another, be it a song, a poem, a PowerPoint presentation,
inventor,
have created, yes, intellectual property and might have even infringed.
Yeah. Can I have something registered? Suppose I have an idea. May kukunin akong malunggay. Meron akong idea. May invention ako. And ang malunggay, pwede maggawa nito. Like now, ang dami natin mga herbal medicines, kung ano. Pwede ko ba i-register yun? Say, idea ko yan. Or hindi? Kasi natural, herbal yan, it's available. Hindi pwede.
There are some things that cannot be registered. Invention-wise or patents-wise, naturally occurring elements cannot. For example, I cannot register sunlight because I discovered it. It's naturally occurring, diba? So I cannot claim that that's my invention. I have to put some creative process into it and make it into a solution to a problem. For example, I start creating solar panels and convert sunlight into energy. I mean, that technology can be patented in my name if ever I did that.
So if you create an idea, it is not the specific idea, but the output of that idea that can be patented if you can prove it.
Yes, yes. Your expression of that idea.
The expression of the idea, but not necessarily the same idea, because that's generic. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure you really pick up now. I have been exposed to intellectual property for some time now. In the last 3 to 6 months, I've been talking to a lot of the people in the agency only to realize that it has been hitting the headlines. This is exactly what we've been reading every other month lately involving the Supreme Court and most recently the celebritized show of Willie Revillame. Biro mo, nag-aagawan sila sa korte. Who exactly decides who arbitrates? Is it the Supreme Court? Well, there we go. It's a highly specialized form. I'm not sure even all lawyers are arbitrators or judges, arbitrators or whatever. I guess it's a specialized study. And here we are in GNN. We have seen that there is a reason to bring to the public, to generate the awareness so you will be in the know. Because after all, you don't want your ideas to be stolen. And you don't want your products to be plagiarized or gayahin ng iba. Alam mo, may storya po dyan eh. Let me see. Somebody told me a story once about a peanut vendor na sa harap ng simbahan. Di ba nakikita natin ito pag linggo, gabi lalabas na yung mga tao sa simbahan. Pupunta ka sa kariton at may ilaw siya, may Petromax siya, nagbebenta siya ng mani. At lahat ng tao, pupunta na pumipila, kumikita yung nagbebenta ng mani. May isa nakaisip ba? Paano ko lalabanan to? Ang ganda ng negosyo ni Ma'am Pedro. Kaya sinabi niya, hindi, magtatayo ako ng Cropec susunod na linggo. Sunod na linggo, nagtayo siya ng Cropec katabi ng mamani. Ba, pumunta lahat ng tao sa kanya. Gumanda negosyo niya, masaya siya. Ang problema, yung sumunod na linggo, yung mga nagmamani, tumigil lahat nag-Cropec na rin. Natalo na naman negosyo niya. Anong kalagayan nun? Pwede ba rehistro yun? Yan, yung mga question na yan. There we go. You see, GNN, we bring it to you. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss the other issues involving intellectual property and you. Just brings me back into form. Talk to Harry. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Harry Tumbuatco. With us, we have attorney Sara Jane Suguitan from Intellectual Property. That's exactly the topic we want to talk about, to bring the information to you so that you may be in the know how to protect your property. Ang property po dito, not necessarily physical. Ito po yung mga ginagawa mo, ang galing mo, your resourcefulness in building what you call, if you're an entrepreneur, it's called goodwill. How do you protect that goodwill? How do you protect your trade name? May taniyo kang tindahan, nilagay mo ng pangalan mo, XYZ. ito ang produkto mo. How do you protect that? That's exactly what we're talking about. Attorney, when we register, I just want to make this clear to our audience, okay? Pupunta ako ng trade name, pupunta ako ng Department of Trade and Industry, tatayo ako ng bagong negosyo, lalagay ko pangalan ko, like, mahilig sa Pilipino, lalagay first names nila. So, kaya Luz Biminda, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Luz Biminda Corporation or Luz Biminda Partnership. Or yun ang entrepreneurial name, ang pangalan ko, Domingo, whatever, Domingo Hari, yun ang pangalan ng kumpanya. Pero ang produkto mo will be something that you create. That's the one we register. So, we go to Department of Trade and Industry, babayad kami, papayagan kami ng Trade and Industry, o sige, pwede ka magnegosyo. Yung trade name ng korporasyon mo, pupunta ka ngayon sa BIR, pupunta ka sa SSS, rehistro ka with all the government agencies. That does not mean you're already registered with intellectual property. Am I right?
It's not automatic.
Not at all.
It's not automatic.
So, tell us, how should we do it?
All right, registration is basically you fill out a form and then you pay filing fees.
Can we do that in DTI?
Yes, you can do it in DTI. You can even do it online.
Oh, we can do it
yes,
online. Okay.
The Intellectual Property Office has a website. It's www.ipopphil.gov.ph. We have the form. ipopphil.gov.ph. Minimum filing fees is 1,090 pesos.
So, what if all this time nagnenegosyo na kami at hindi namin na-rehistro sa intellectual property? Can I now run to IPO and say, hey, I forgot to register this. I didn't know. Hindi namin sinabi sa amin noon. Pwede ko ba rehistro itong trade name ko ngayon sa inyo? Even though it's 5 years na ako nagnenegosyo, 10 years na. Nakalikta ako. Can I go now to intellectual property?
Sure you can, but the caveat there is provided no one else has registered it ahead of you.
Naku, patay.
Kasi unahan yan eh. So once it's registered with someone else, we deny the application. But then again, you call us, or anyone interested in filing a trademark application, we provide legal assistance somehow. We give them advice on their brands and what may or may not be registered.
Do we need a lawyer?
Not necessarily. For trademarks, not necessarily. You can do it, and I have a lot of classmates who've done it on their own. Everything online, so
just
not
online.
Yes, online. Then you pay with land back, and then you send us a deposit slip, everything.
Ang intellectual property, when we read international magazines, it's always coming into play. Hindi ba this is an American issue of protecting their brands? Ang tawag dyan, branding. Bakit natin nakikita kung saan-saan, gaya ng Green Hills 168? Nakikita din na daya, piracy. Di ba intellectual property din po yun?
Brands, definitely that's intellectual property. And piracy is an infringement against intellectual property.
So that's illegal?
Yes, it's copying. It's illegal copying.
How come they're doing it? How do they get away with it?
Well, it's hard to police an archipelago of 7,107 islands, and shipments coming from any point into the country are quite hard to monitor. But then again, we also have manufacturing facilities that are reportedly inside the country producing this, what I'll say, contraband goods.
And you've been going after them already as well?
Yes, definitely. We do have cooperation with OMB, the Optical Media Board. And
yan hindi intellectual property ang Optical Media Board, no?
Optical media it means discs, basically.
Discs lang.
So it's
DVDs.
exclusively, yes, it's
DVDs.
exclusively discs, yes.
Discs
So that's
lang
what
yan.
they go after. But we have cooperation with other police agencies, NBI, PNP. Whenever we can, we have a tip or we need to raid. But still, we don't have police powers. We're basically policy making and registration.
Registration, policy making, but you should have police powers because it's an infringement on intellectual property, correct?
And it's the only government agency specializing on this property. So if there's anyone who should be policing how it's being used, it should be Intellectual Property Office.
Why is it in the more developed countries it's such a very big industry, or it's a very strict regulation? It's a very strict government agency when it comes to intellectual property. Bakit sa atin hindi? Is that why we have piracy?
Well,
because wala tayong understanding or awareness?
Yes, it's a factor in to that effect. But for example, in the United States, there are copyright industries, movies, authors, and films. Movies, Hollywood, and then music, everything. Copyright industries contribute at least 40% to their gross national product.
Gosh.
Yes, this intellectual property creates jobs for everyone. For example, you have a whole Hollywood here. Can you imagine how many people you have to employ if the movie industry is booming, a music industry, and you have authors producing books like Harry Potter left and right?
For example, the song of the song Anak that went around the world, Freddie Aguilar, di ba? It's very popular. Yun hindi na, was that registered as intellectual property so that anybody who tries to use that song, kasi ang Beatles song, kakantahin mo, if you perform it live, you're supposed to pay rights to the original songwriter, di ba? Sa atin hindi, madali yung gayahan.
Yeah, copyright, it doesn't need to be registered. Okay, like for example, a song, we don't have a registry for it really. You just have to claim na ako yung nag-create niyan, I'm the first to create that and I own
but
that song.
But you have to prove it.
Yes, you have to prove it. That's a problem. And
can I go to intellectual property and say, hey guys, help me prove this song? Pwede ba yun?
Yeah, yes, you can.
Yes,
you can. And we'll help you to our best.
Tell us more about what we can expect for your show. That, ladies and gentlemen, we are launching here in the Global News Network every Friday at 7 o'clock. I like to do this every time we have new hosts and new program. I like to host their host and what exactly they're going to be doing. So you and I will be in the know and what to expect. We have all these new programs lined up simply because we have new programs to offer to you. One of them is Tom, Dick, and Harry, which I will co-host together with Senator Gordon. That will start every Friday at 9 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, under social responsibility. We also have another show coming on soon with the Camelec and Lente. You see, we have a slew of programs that are coming in to excite your new year. What do we expect for intellectual property, the show, every Friday? Anong gagawin mo sa show po niyo?
Ayan, basically, aside from raising awareness and extending protection to people who generate intellectual property, you want to build respect for intellectual property. Kasi,
kulang na awareness, no?
Yes, and respect. Filipinos are, well, we're very creative. You know, we create this idea and like that, you know, every hour, I mean, everyone creates something, be it an invention, a song, a book, a poem, a PowerPoint presentation, everything. So we want to build respect in order for us to make money out of it as a nation. Kasi, let's face it, I mean, Harry Potter was just an idea, and yet it built all this. It built, you know, candies, there's a Harry Potter, Disneyland, merchandising. Yeah, so it expanded to that slew of, I mean, to the whole industry and created jobs for everyone. See, it made money for, well, for J.K. Rowling and 1,000 other more people, right? So, and we can exactly be generating that kind of income for our country's good.
Will you be discussing issues and things that we hear and read about, yung mga conflict resolution, conflict areas? For example, like plagiarism, i-discuss nyo sa show yon.
Yeah, that would be, yes, definitely. We'll try to, well, not preempt any court from deciding any pending case, but we'd want to establish ourselves as the authority on any matters intellectual
Will
property.
our audience be able to write to you, call you, text you, or email you about their issues on questions that can be answered in the program? Because is that public service? Can you say intellectual property is somewhat of a public service?
Well, it's a government function
it's
to
a government
register
function. Under
property.
regulated industry yan.
Yes. It's a, well, there's a registry, which is our mandate, and aside from that, we're a policy-making body. So it's still a government function to maintain the register.
So life is intellectual property, one way or the other. Like my name, can I say, hey, hindi pwede copy yung pangalan ko? That's, pag kinopy yung pangalan ko, kinopy yung show ko, tatakbo ko sa intellectual property, pwede ba yun?
And cry foul.
Cry foul. But I have to prove that this is really my show and this is really my name.
Yes, that you own it, yes.
That you own it. So I have to show a birth certificate, ito talaga yun. And then show a film na ito, see, ginagawa ko na yan, ginagaya niya yan. Alam mo, in television, in media, it seems that intellectual property is always being misunderstood and overused, if not, how do you say it? People seem to follow, di ba dito, pag, like yung mga vampire shows, di ba, sumikat yan about 6 months ago. Ngayon, ang daming television shows, teleserye, ginagaya din yung mga vampire shows, yung ba infringement yun?
Well, as I said earlier, yung format or any idea
that is copied
is not, it's not intellectual property. It cannot be owned. For example, I have an idea of a game show. I mean, anyone can create a game show. So that's how it operates. You have to make it really signature. You know, it's something that I can identify that you created, not just an ordinary game show. You know, the whole thing. So it's a very sensitive
so if I have an idea and I think it's unique, can I go to intellectual property, try to register it? Kung pumasa sa inyo, I can say, hey, akin yung idea na yan. So kung kinopya ng iba yan, I can prove it. matatalo sila sa korte. Parang ganon. So, we suggest that all directors or creators of shows, TV shows,
Yes, definitely.
maganda i-rehistro nila if they can prove that that's really unique and that's their idea. Because once we do that, hindi na pwede kopyahin. Can we do that with music?
Music, yes. Yes,
Books,
there's
di ba?
Yes, books. That's what we're lobbying for in Congress. We want to create a Bureau of Copyright. Now, copyright will deal exclusively with books, music, movies, films, art, newspaper articles, everything that is creative, in order to have a register of that, and we can easily prove who copied who. So that's the way to go for
in your program, will you be bringing different types of guests from the office and also issues, conflicts, mga ganon? Will you be bringing other examples into your program? For example, bringing Willie Revillame or Manny Pacquiao coming in and he's trying to register something. Some new boxer comes out and he calls himself Manny Pacquiao again. Pwede ba yun? Will you be bringing issues like that in your program?
Definitely. Actually, there has been an applicant of a noodle house who wants to register itself as Mami Pacquiao.
Pwede ba yun?
Well, I think we rejected it. I'll confirm. But see, we have instances like this. We have case studies.
Mami Pacquiao.
Yes, Mami. It's noodle house, so it's not sports, right?
There was one in BF Homes. It was called Hari Pata. Crispy Pata, binibenta niya, Hari Pata.
See, we're really a creative people. We create left and right. But
Dapat
definitely
yun,
we'll
right?
bring case studies to the table in order to...
Good. So at least it'll be educational awareness as well to bring us up to date on what's
and
going on.
Interesting and relevant. Yes,
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Let's find out exactly what we're going to be expecting on Friday when it comes to intellectual property. That'll be at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's every Friday. Now, let's go to another issue on intellectual property as well. It's called patents. Sa Pilipinas po, nakakalimutan po natin, we have one of the most indigenous inventors and most creative inventors in the Philippines, and we seem to forget. About a year ago, I used to bring them in at least twice a month on my program, or if not once a week, if I'm not mistaken. It's 4 times a month when I was doing a show 5 days a week. I always respect the Filipino inventors, and I always look forward to seeing, watching, and for them unraveling the different inventions right here in the studio. It was so interesting, only to depress me later on. I found out that they were not getting any real support from the Department of Trade, and I'm sorry, not DOST, Department of Science and Trade. Now, I realized that I was mistaken there. I erred when I said that they weren't getting the support. Baliktad pala, Secretary Alabastros was doing a lot, but she was giving a lot of she was giving a lot of the grants on her budget or appropriations. Inalagay niya sa academe. So basically, maraming R&D or research and development. Will you be doing patents and will you be supporting inventors, or you're already supporting a lot of them?
Actually, the Intellectual Property Office is one of the proponents of Balik Scientists program of the DOST.
I remember, I had one Balik Scientist here,
Yes, Balik
si Mr.
Scientist.
Lahar.
Yes. I mean, basically anyone who's graduated with a science degree and went off outside the country to make better bucks, and then returning here to share their expertise.
So they
we'll be
register
featuring
with you?
They registered their patent.
Pero mahirap daw parati i-register ang patent, saka may kamahalan daw. Why is it so difficult and why is it expensive to register patents? I don't understand that. I'm an inventor. I invented this cup. It's made of styrofoam. Ganito yung combination niyan. Bakit ang tagal?
Well, first of all, you need to draft the claims very clearly. Meaning, sometimes our scientists need help in drafting the claims. For example, detailing everything that they're claiming as theirs in that particular invention. So that takes time. And then there's a formal examination of the invention in order to assess which elements are already registered or are not yet registered and can be registered. So that takes time.
If, let's suppose I live in the province. I live in Dagupan, or I live in Ilocos, or I live in Tawi-Tawi. May invention ako. I have to fly to Manila and bring it and show it? Or do you have offices outside then that do this? Parang industry, trade and industry.
Well, first of all, you can go online. And second of all, we do have satellite
online
offices. The thing is, we have satellite offices in select cities all over the country. I think the nearest in, for example, Sulu and Tawi-Tawi is General Santos. In General
Malapit na
Santos,
rin
yeah.
yan. So bigger cities.
Yeah, actually, you can go to any Department of Trade and Industry
Also.
branch. Yes, and they'll refer. I mean, they'll process whatever and help you get connected to us.
I see. So, other than going online, DTI will be They will assist us
Yes.
of all our inventions and protection and all of that. So can DTI, they act as intellectual property too? Hindi. Not
No,
necessarily.
no,
Iba
no.
naman.
It's like our mother.
Bakit dalawa? Bakit hindi nalang ginawa yung isa?
Well, as I said, intellectual property is highly specialized. IPO is a government agency that's under an adjunct of the DTI.
So bago lang po itong intellectual property? O narito na 20, 30 years ago?
Well, it used to be called Bureau of Patents.
Bureau.
Bureau of Patents.
Pero pang invention lang yung patents.
Yeah, well, patents, trademarks, and technology transfer. It also includes trademarks. Kaya kung makikita mo, sometimes you see it in the marks, it says Reg Phil Pat Off. It means Registered
may
Philippine
REG.
Patent Office. Yeah, or they
yun
put
yun.
an R. Yes, that's our office.
Yung nakikita natin sa mga ibang pangalan, suppose Coca-Cola, and then may letter R, tapos may paikot. Or letter P, tapos paikot. Ano ibig sabihin? That's registered.
Registered.
So
R.
if we are registered, we have to put that also on our trade name.
Yes. You put it on your trademark, on your products or services, and to indicate that you have registered it. So you own it.
Your experience with the IPO office, intellectual property, naintindihan na ba ng Pilipino? Hindi pa rin. Based on the number of businessmen and small industry, big industry, or micro industry, do they register automatically o talagang wala pa masyadong alam?
Well, yung culture kasi natin is communal eh. What we create, we share with the community. So it's not inherent in us to start registering something personally. It's more common for foreign companies. It's SOP for them once they start doing business here to register with the Intellectual Property Office. But with our small and medium-sized enterprises na homegrown, it's not normal it's not SOP for them. It's not inherent for them to register. We have to reach out to them and inform them that they have to.
There you go. So I guess, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. The idea to bring to you an idea and how to register it, regulate it, and how we can protect you, or how this office can actually protect you, and protect your product, your services, your name, so that alam mo. Because right now, the way it goes, here in GNN, we've realized that a lot of people, and as we read this in the newspaper, alam nyo naman po sa mga broadsheets, parating konflikto, marami nag-aaway, nag-aagawan, as you well know. Celebrity show, the game show of Wawawi is becoming an issue. That's called conflict, di ba? Na the resolution there, how they arbitrate that, goes back to trade names, and this is the difficult part. Alam mo, pagdating sa mga kanta, we already know what happened to Anak, yung kanta natin, Anak, Freddie Aguilar. We heard it in so many languages all over the world, and the poor guy did not really make money out of that, I guess because he was not protected. Is intellectual property a new idea, or matagal na yan?
It has been existing since the 70s. I mean, the registration system has been existing for a long time. So, it has been here for a long time already.
Matagal na ito?
Matagal na.
So this is the problem all this time?
Yes. Underutilization. We're not using it enough or to our benefit as a people.
Where is your office?
We're located at number 351 Hill Puyat Street in Makati. That's the main office. And we have satellite offices all over the country. One in Baguio, one in Angeles, Pampanga, one in Legazpi, Albay, General Santos, Cebu, and Iloilo.
Pag kami ninakawan at rehistrado na kami, pwede kami tumakbo sa inyo, sabihin mo, ginagaya kami no, tignan mo, nagrehistro na ako sa inyo. Tigilin nyo naman yan, pwede ba yun? Hindi, ano? Police power kasi yan, di ba?
Yes, it's enforcement. Yes, you're enforcing your right. So, kakasuhan mo siya where it's beyond our jurisdiction. Yes.
So you're only going to show proof that yes, you are registered and
With
you
us.
own that, but it does not mean that the Intellectual Property Office is going to be the one to go after them. You're just going to be laying claim on the legality that you do own it. Parang ganon. Pwede ba yun na dalawa nakarehistro? Because I seem to have seen that. I have a friend who owns a restaurant, and he has a problem. He operated, pinayagan siya ng DTI, Trade and Industry, ginamit niya yung pangalan. And then, nakikita niya mga ibang lugar, pare-parehong pangalan, ang dami. Pwede pala yun, ano? Yung people can... Di ba Shangri-La Hotel?
Yes.
When it was a big issue about 15, 20 years ago.
90s.
And then there was this restaurant, Shangri-La din. Ang
In
nanalo
Quezon
ata
City.
yung restaurant, di ba?
Yes.
I think nanalo ang restaurant, if I'm not mistaken.
It won in the...
It won?
In the lower court and in the Court of Appeals.
So, the little guy who really owned the name, the big guy couldn't push him out. Let's suppose, what if I registered the name McDonald's, tapos pumasok ko McDonald's? McDonald's has to pay me. Kung naunahan ko siya.
Well, McDonald's will have to cancel your registration. Like, for example, in that Shangri-La case, what happened was the restaurant registered it ahead of the hotel.
Oo nga.
The name
So who owns the name? The restaurant.
The restaurant owns the name.
In spite of the hotel's international title.
Now, what the
Or presence.
Yes, what the hotel established was that it was internationally well known. So you could have copied us kasi we're internationally well known, and that's what prevailed in the Supreme Court. Kaya na reverse. That's why the restaurant lost when the case reached the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, one last case na lang, because it happened to me, because I used to own and operate a lot of restaurants. I registered this name called Culture Club some 20 years ago. In the early 80s. And I operated, and then I closed the restaurant after 3 years, Disco having a short life cycle. And then 15, 18 years later, I decided to re-register it. I noticed that somebody used my name, iba naman pangalan. That was Department of Trade and Industry. Pwede ba yung overlapping of trade names sa DTI?
Previously, it's possible that you have the same trade name operating at different places and totally unrelated to each other. But now they have a mutual exclusion in their program.
Na sila.
Yeah, nationwide.
Meron na.
Yes.
How about Security Exchange Commission, because corporations? Meron din sila?
Well, we have to coordinate. I have to verify that. There
Okay.
should be verification among the three, diba? DTI, SEC, Securities and Exchange, where you register corporate names, and then also intellectual property.
That would be interesting. Maybe you can invite DTI and the SEC all together with intellectual property in one of their programs. Attorney, we're running out of time, but before we go, I'd like you to invite our viewers again to tune in on your time slot. So I'll give you the last 2 minutes. This camera, please.
All right, good evening. Thank you for watching Talk to Harry, and please do watch us starting this Friday, 7 to 8, right here on Global News Network, where we bring you intelligent programming. The program will be called Intellectual Property, and for any other queries you might have, do log on to www.ipophil.gov.ph.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Kita mo, we bring new programs to you. Intelligent na, at least mabata-bata pa. Intelihente na, maganda pa. O kita mo. Talaga GNN talaga nangunguna pagdating dyan. So tune in. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we have been of help and assistance to you. The purpose, other than introducing to you the new host and the new programs, really, is to bring about the relevance of why we are doing these shows. We're not doing this just to entertain you. We are doing this because it is our role. It is our advocacy to bring to you, to educate you, and to bring to your stage right in front of your living rooms things you have to do para matuto po tayo, para maprotektahan natin sarili natin. Now, when I started this program, I was complaining about the different issues that are coming on into this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just complaining because I'm being a sour grape or a big mouth. No. I'm doing this because it's my country, and I have to complain when there's something wrong. Now, this is what we call being a body politic and being part and parcel of the system. Alam mo, hindi pwedeng nananihimik lang tayo. We have to act. Let's not wait till the very end and become like the communists with clenched fists and saying, let's go out in the street and fight. No. Be interactive, be active, be proactive, participate. This is what it's all about. Well, we hope you've enjoyed our program. My name is Harry Tumbatko. Stay tuned. We have more for you right here on GNN. You are what you watch.